Let's get straight to the point. Number 10. Caffeine, the energy loan shark. At 7 a.m., you drag yourself to the kitchen like a zombie looking for brains. But instead of brains, you're after a cup of hot, bitter bean water. You tell yourself it gives you energy, but that's a biological lie. Caffeine doesn't create energy. What it does is much more sinister. It's a master of disguise. Inside your brain, there's a chemical called adenosine. It's basically your body's way of saying, hey buddy, you're tired. Go to sleep. Caffeine enters your system and blocks adenosine receptors. It's like the low fuel light on your car turning on. And instead of refueling, you just cover the light with black tape and keep driving at full speed. The problem didn't go away. You're just ignoring it. While you feel falsely awake, your brain continues stacking up fatigue in the background. And when the caffeine wears off, all that accumulated adenosine hits you at once. That's why, by 2 p.m., you feel like you've been hit by an invisible truck. Basically, caffeine is a shady loan shark. It lends you energy now. But when it comes to collect a few hours later, it breaks your legs with a 200% interest rate in exhaustion. And what do? You grab another cup. Because apparently, anxiety with heart palpitations is what we now call productivity. Number 9. The master scam. If caffeine is a loan shark, nicotine is the most successful pyramid scheme in chemical history. Smokers and vapors swear that nicotine relaxes them or gives them peace. But that's a complete illusion. Nicotine has a dirty trick. It creates the problem it pretends to solve. Smoking or vaping doesn't make you feel good. It just temporarily stops the agitation caused by the last dose. It's the chemical equivalent of wearing shoes 2 sizes too small all day just to enjoy the relief of taking them off for 5 minutes. You're not gaining happiness. You're renting brief moments of normality at a ridiculous price. Here's how it works. You inhale, and within seconds dopamine spikes, giving you a fleeting sense of control. But nicotine is a cruel lover with a very short half-life. Around 2 hours later, that sense of well-being dissolves, and your brain panics. You feel tense and restless. Not because the world is stressful, but because your brain is throwing a tantrum for its chemical pacifier. And don't even get me started on vapes. We took a deadly addiction and packaged it to taste like tropical mango or frozen watermelon. Now instead of smelling like an ashtray, you smell like a cheap bathroom air freshener while inhaling solvents. You're basically paying a monthly subscription to be a slave to a USB stick that helps you not feel miserable. Without nicotine, the world seems gray, not because it is, but because you've broken your own ability to feel pleasure without external help. Number 8. Cannabis, the magic plant. There's always someone at the party who says, it's natural, bro, it's medicine from the earth. Sure, snake venom and poison ivy are also 100% natural, but you don't see people rubbing them on themselves for fun. Cannabis works because THC impersonates chemicals your brain already produces, called endocannabinoids. It's basically an imposter that gets into your brain's control booth and starts pressing random buttons. Suddenly, your sense of time is broken. 5 minutes feels like 5 hours. You're convinced you've solved the mysteries of the universe and quantum physics. But in reality, you've spent 45 minutes staring at a bag of chips, deciding whether to open it or worship it like a god. At low doses, it's all laughs and music that sounds amazing. But if you overdo it, your brain decides everyone hates you or that the police are hiding inside your fridge. Paranoia takes over. You become a scared animal who thinks their own heartbeat is too loud. And in the long term, cannabis turns you into a human goldfish. It affects your working memory. You start a sentence with a brilliant idea, but halfway through you stop and go, wait, what were we talking about? You think you're a deep philosopher, but you're just a hungry dude who forgot where he left his keys. Number 7. Benzodiazepines, the time machine. Medications like alprazolam or diazepam are sold for anxiety, but users know their real superpower is teleportation. You take a pill Friday night because you're feeling a little stressed, you blink, and suddenly it's Monday morning. You have no idea where you are, why there's a traffic cone in your living room, or why your family isn't speaking to you. This happens because benzodiazepines enhance GABA receptors, which basically tell your neurons, shut up and sleep. A fun little side effect is anterograde amnesia. Your brain stops recording new memories. You're a functional zombie. You walk, talk, and make terrible decisions, but your brain's hard drive isn't saving anything. It's literally the skip intro button for real life. Got a tough problem? Pause pop a benzo and skip it. The problem is still there when you wake up, and now you have a new one, an addiction that forms in weeks. And if you quit cold turkey, the withdrawal is so brutal it can trigger seizures. They basically mute your body's fire alarm, but let the house burn to the ground while you sleep peacefully on the couch. Number 6. MDMA, borrowed happiness. Known as ecstasy, this drug is an expert at making you believe you love the entire universe. Suddenly, you're having deep conversations with strangers in a club bathroom, and touching a brick wall feels like the most spiritual, tactile experience of your life. You feel connected to everyone. The world is beautiful, and your jaw is so tight you could chew a brick. This happens because MDMA grabs your serotonin stores, the happiness hormone, and empties them all at once, like squeezing a tube of toothpaste until it explodes. For about 4 hours, you become a sweaty beam of light who believes world peace is possible if everyone just dances to techno at the same time. But here comes the fine print of the contract. That happiness wasn't free. It was a bank loan with abusive interest. When the party ends, your brain is completely drained. You've spent all of next week's happiness in a single night. That's when the users hit what's called the crash, or the gray days. You feel empty, apathetic, and miserable, not because something bad happened, but because your brain chemistry is bankrupt. You'll literally find yourself crying on a Tuesday afternoon because you dropped a spoon, or because a cat food commercial felt too emotional. Number 5. LSD, disconnecting the router. If alcohol shuts down your prefrontal cortex, LSD unplugs your reality router and reconnects the cables randomly. Users call it opening the mind, which is a fancy way of saying you're going to completely scramble your perception of who you are and where you are. With a microscopic dose, your brain starts to misfire in hilarious ways. Suddenly you have synesthesia, the only time in life when you can hear the color blue and taste the number 7. The problem is that this trip lasts 8 to 12 hours. It's a full-time commitment. Once you get on that roller coaster, you can't get off. Even if halfway through you decide you don't want to watch the walls breathe anymore. It's like playing Russian roulette with your sanity. The quality of your experience depends entirely on your environment and your mental state. You could have a spiritual epiphany and feel at one with the universe, or you could spend 10 hours in the fetal position, convinced your toaster is plotting to steal your soul. The irony, it doesn't cause physical addiction. In fact, the tolerance is so fast that if you try to take it 2 days in a row, it just doesn't work. It's like your brain itself says, "No thanks, I've had enough crazy for 1 week." But be careful. For some people, the trip never really ends. There's a risk of persistent hallucination disorder where you keep seeing strange visual patterns months later, or you trigger a latent psychosis you didn't know you had. Number 4. Alcohol, the social solvent. This is the only poison on the list that people will bully you for not consuming. We call ethanol a social lubricant, but it's actually a central nervous system depressant that shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that tells you, hey, maybe don't dance on that table. Basically, you drink to mute your internal designated driver and let a drunk monkey take the wheel. At first, you feel euphoric and confident because alcohol releases dopamine and strips away your inhibitions. You think you're the funniest person at the party, but in reality, you're shouting instead of speaking and telling the same story for the 5th time. Then comes the biphasic effect. The more you drink, the worse you feel, but your judgment is so wrecked, you believe that more alcohol will fix the problem. And let's not forget blackouts. Alcohol blocks NMDA receptors, preventing your brain from saving new memories. It's literally time travel to the future, where you wake up with a killer headache, a mysterious tattoo, and a photo gallery on your phone that will destroy your reputation forever. In the long run, you're turning your liver into fat and increasing your risk of cancer, all for the privilege of texting your ex at 3 a.m. with maximum cringe. Number 3. Cocaine, powdered ego. If you've ever wanted to feel like the king of the universe while having the personality of a used car salesman at 3 in the morning, this is your drug. Cocaine doesn't make you smarter or more interesting. It just tricks your brain into believing you are. It blocks dopamine reuptake, flooding your reward circuits. The result is instant and artificial ego inflation. Suddenly you believe you've got million-dollar business ideas, and you speak non-stop with unshakable confidence about topics you know nothing about. You become the most confident person in the room, and coincidentally, the most annoying to everyone else. But cocaine is a very short con. Its effect doesn't last last long, and when it crashes, your dopamine levels plummet, leaving you anxious, paranoid, and desperate for another line. It's basically renting the personality of a god, paid for with the health of a mortal. While you feel invincible, your heart is having a physical panic attack, your arteries contract, and your blood pressure spikes. It's the most expensive way to become a paranoid wreck with heart problems, peeking through the blinds every 5 minutes waiting for the cops. Number 2. Methamphetamine, the accelerator of decay. If caffeine is a bank loan, meth is selling your soul to the devil in exchange for the energy of 1,000 dying suns. This drug hits your system and reverses dopamine transporters, lighting your brain up like a nuclear Christmas tree. You suddenly feel invincible, euphoric, and laser-focused. You think you're the most productive person in the world, but from the outside, you're a wide-eyed man who's been taking apart his microwave at 3 a.m. for 12 hours straight because he thinks the government is spying on him through the timer. It gives you unlimited energy to do absolutely useless, repetitive tasks. The physical price? A fast-motion body horror film. Because the drug kills your hunger and sleep, your body begins to consume itself. You lose weight. Your teeth rot and fall out, the infamous meth mouth. Your skin breaks out in sores. Why? Because psychosis convinces you there are bugs crawling under your skin, so you scratch until you bleed. It's the most efficient way to turn into a paranoid skeleton who's forgotten how to feel joy without chemicals. Number 1. Opioids, the death hug, heroin, fentanyl, oxycodone. Call them what you want. These are the heavyweights of self-destruction. They work by hijacking the receptors in your brain and spinal cord to block pain and generate a warm euphoria. At first, users describe the sensation as a total safety hug, like being back in the womb. But that warmth is a deadly trap. Your brain, stupidly, rewrites its survival priorities. Suddenly, the equation becomes food, water, air versus opioids. The drug becomes as necessary as oxygen to your body. If you try to quit, withdrawal is a physical hell of pain, diarrhea, and panic, where it feels like your bones are trying to escape your skin. The most terrifying part is respiratory depression. Opioids relax you so much that your brain literally forgets to breathe. No gasping, no struggle. You just fall asleep feeling incredibly at peace, and your body decides breathing is too much effort. It's like a soft, warm blanket that lovingly wraps around you while slowly suffocating you until you fade away forever.